It all starts with the idea that life loves to throw walls in people's way, separating races and talents. On top of that, there are those annoying emotional barriers that push people apart. But the story focuses on a guy who spent his entire life putting up shields around himself. The boy would not let anyone get close, running away from any kind of contact, until one girl decides to trust him and show him an awesome secret. With that, the MC is completely blown away by the reveal. The girl simply turns on shock mode, filling her body with electric energy. Right in front of them, a giant beetle-faced monster appears roaring loudly. Then the two charge at the beast completely fired up. The boy keeps it real and yells for them to give it their all. Gathering momentum, the girl takes an insane leap toward the creature. With an agile move, she swings her arm down, unleashing a powerful lightning bolt. The strike breaks the beast's defense and destroys the ground, proving that the walls were completely shattered. Out of nowhere, the scene changes to a totally normal school on a quiet day. The MC opens the classroom door super quietly. As soon as he walks in, he stutters and asks the guys to stop the mess. It turns out a red-haired bully is choking a student while the rest just watch. Seeing the tension rise, Minato gulps and looks away. The aggressor squeezes the kid and asks in a mocking tone what he wants. Way too intimidated, the boy turns his face away, scared out of his mind. He ends up chickening out and says it was nothing. But suddenly, someone grabs the bully's arm with serious force. It is Kira, the class rep, stepping in with major boss energy. Out of patience, he calls the guy out to stop the bullying. The redhead lets go of the victim immediately and tries to play it off, saying he was just joking around. While the bully bails, the girls in the room start swooning over the hero of the hour. Minato just stays in the corner, eating himself up with guilt for not doing anything. He remembers that the last time he tried to help, the poor guy got beat up even worse. A traumatic memory hits hard, showing the pure terror he felt in the past. Deep down, the only thing he wanted was to be able to protect the people around him. Snapping back to reality, a voice wakes the boy from his trance. Shinomiya walks up to his desk and calls him by his last name to see if he is still alive. Minato gets a massive scare and widens his eyes at the girl. She teases him, saying he is as pale as someone who just saw a ghost. He quickly plays it off and says it is nothing like that. The girl shrugs, accepts the excuse, and lets the subject drop. Alone in his chair, he goes back to staring at Kira's group in the back of the room. In his mind, trying to stop an attack is a waste of time and only causes headaches. He convinces himself that he is not special enough to be a hero, and keeping a low profile is the best tactic. But out of nowhere, an absurd earthquake starts shaking everything. Everyone loses their balance and panics with the violent tremor. Minato grabs onto the desk, desperate and thinking the building is going to collapse. Except a bizarre magic circle appears glowing brightly right under his feet. With nowhere to run, the boy gets swallowed by a dark abyss. In a matter of seconds, the entire classroom disappears in the flash of that magic. After the blackout passes, the MC slowly opens his eyes. When his vision focuses, the whole class is scattered across the floor of a massive castle. He starts freaking out, not understanding how they went from school to a place like that. At the end of the carpet, a king is sitting on a throne with a fancy advisor right beside him. Totally calm, the monarch thanks the group for popping up from the summon. And he gives it to them straight. They are the new heroes who need to lend their strength to the kingdom. The classroom immediately loses their minds, realizing they fell into the biggest isekai cliché ever. Kira takes the lead and yells for everyone to chill out. Using his class rep authority, he announces he is going to hear what the king has to say. The older guy loves the kid's boldness and praises his courage. Satisfied, he passes the mic to the advisor, Toru, to explain the whole mess. The preppy mage formally introduces himself and starts telling the history of the place. He says that this world called Elsphere is hanging by a thread and close to being annihilated. A race of monsters led by the Demon King is hunting humans without mercy. And since the royal army is getting wrecked left and right, they resorted to the summoning. With no other way out against the monsters, the spell pulled in the class of students. Toru keeps it real, letting them know that during the trip they gained special powers to save the nation. Hearing about superpowers, the kids instantly change their tune and get super hyped. Kira, trying to keep his cool, asks how this ability thing works in practice. To show them how it is done, the mage pulls out a glowing crystal ball and steps closer. He explains that magic reflects the owner's heart and is used to crush enemies. Then he asks the class rep to place his hand on the glass sphere. The second he touches it, an insane golden light blinds everyone in the hall. The advisor loses it right away and announces that the boy's power is pure light magic. Thinking he owns the world, Kira concludes that this power totally fits the hero of the story. He wastes no time and pulls a sword made of light straight into his hand. The weapon has an insane glow and an aura that lights up the entire room. Hyped with his new strength, he swings at the air, testing the weight of the blade. The crowd goes wild at the display and rushes over, demanding the mage test everyone else too. While the place turns into a circus with the class playing with magic, Minato stares tensely at his own hands. Calling the next one in line, the advisor asks them to step up. Shinomiya takes the front without hesitation. She touches the glass sphere, which quickly gives off a soft blue glow. Watching the result closely, Toru mutters that he already figured out her talent. The mage explains that the crystal was made to project the results using appraisal magic. But he quickly confesses that he is pretty surprised by what he just read on the sphere. With that, he reveals the girl has a rare sage-type skill and might even be able to master magic. The whole class starts whispering, praising their classmate's smarts. Thinking it is over, Kira asks if that is everyone. That is when the MC starts walking right through the middle of the crowd in the hall. Walking past him, Shinomiya gives him a nudge, letting him know it is his turn. Sweating bullets, Minato fills up with hope, wondering if a new skill would make him stop being such a massive coward. He walks up to the altar where the advisor is waiting, holding the magical artifact. Wasting no time, the boy places his hand flat on the glass of the glowing sphere. However, time passes, and the artifact shows absolutely zero reaction to his touch. Minato is completely clueless and asks the mage what happened to his skill. Without sugarcoating it, Toru tells him straight to his face that he simply has no power at all. The boy freezes instantly. The advisor coldly repeats that the boy has zero aptitude for magic. Not mincing words, Toru calls the MC a complete incompetent. Minato goes into shock hearing the whispers of the entire class calling him a failure. Devastated by reality, he falls to his knees on the castle floor, repeating that this cannot be true. Ignoring the boy's misery, the mage turns his attention back to the rest, letting them know everyone has received their powers. With that part handled, the advisor suggests they focus on the plan to defeat the Demon King. Straight from the throne, the king swears he will give them honor, wealth, power, and whatever else they desire in exchange for this victory. Toru reinforces that this absurd offer just proves how desperate the kingdom is for the future of the world. With that, the mage reaches out his hand and asks if they promise to fight alongside the royal army. Kira immediately steps to the front of the group and says that, by the looks of it, they have no other choice but to join the fight. Wielding his glowing sword, the class rep fires up the class, yelling that now they have powers to fix this. Already outside the castle, Toru thanks them for stepping up and warns that he is going to show them the real enemies. The advisor guides the group of students through the stone corridors of the fortress. The crowd ends up coming out into the stands of a gigantic open-air coliseum. Trapped in an iron cage down below, a terrifying demon growls with hatred. Toru warns them that they are fierce but not invincible. That red-haired bully cracks his knuckles and decides he wants to test his own skill by taking down the beast right there. But suddenly, the monster lets out a deafening roar and shatters the iron bars of the prison. The crowd in the stands goes into total panic seeing the creature break free so easily. Away from the group, Minato notices a shadow covering the Colosseum sky. The boy looks up totally confused and asks out loud what is coming from above. An army of demons riding winged beasts crashes into the arena, catching everyone by surprise with the attack. Thinking this is just the tutorial phase, the redhead flashes an arrogant smile and tells the class to leave the heavy lifting to him. The bully activates his power, making his entire arm swell with energy and brags that he is the strongest. He jumps in hard to punch a demon knight, but the enemy tears his arm off in the blink of an eye. The redhead's confident expression gives way to absolute shock mixed with the extreme pain of the strike. Things get incredibly messy in the arena. A girl screams in terror, begging everyone to try and stay calm. Ignoring the chaos, the enemy knight riding the beast readies a glowing magic spear. Minato realizes the monster's intention and notices with dread that he is right in the crosshairs. Completely paralyzed by fear, the boy curses the situation, thinking he does not want everything to end right there. In pure survival instinct, he crosses his arms over his face, praying he will not meet his end in that place. A colossal blast of energy falls from the sky, exploding exactly where the MC was standing. From atop his mount, the enemy knight coldly observes the result of the impact. The monster narrows its eye behind its mask, noticing something went wrong with the perfect attack. The smoke clears, revealing Minato curled up on the ground, completely unharmed after the devastating hit. The villain lets out a murmur of surprise. Even the boy himself widens his eyes, not understanding how he survived. The blue-haired creature glares back at the target with an expression of pure irritation. Still sprawled in the dust, the MC cowers, seeing the enemy dragon hovering right above him. The boy slowly turns his face and tries to ask what just happened there. He quickly sees that it was Kira who jumped in front to block the strike using his magic light sword. The class rep stands in front of Minato, wielding the weapon that glows intensely in the arena. Full of attitude, Kira tells the incompetent kid to stay back so he does not get in the way of those who actually know how to fight. Even though he is humiliated, Minato cracks a nervous smile out of pure relief for being saved by his classmate. Without thinking twice, he gets up and runs away from the danger while the rest of the class tries to fight. But reality hits hard, showing an absolute disaster where the inexperienced students are cowardly crushed by the demons. Minato watches the beatdown in shock, admitting to himself that this was a true, brutal nightmare. The MC reaches out his trembling hand, clearly realizing just how useless he was in that war. Near the destroyed cage, the royal knights are laid out on the ground, completely broken by the surprise attack. Clutching a wound on his shoulder, Kira watches the enemies fly away and asks if they retreated. With the whole class on the ground groaning in pain, Toru replies that actually it was the monsters who let them live. The advisor wipes his face, wondering if the demons figured out that the Knight Order was wiped out. Barely having any strength left, the rep tells the mage that the support healer's magic is not keeping up with the damage. Toru agrees immediately, asking them to call the medical team fast because the general state there is critical. But right after that, the advisor's red eyes narrow as he notices a very bizarre detail. The mage comments that everyone took a nasty beating, with the exception of one single person. Minato gulps, feeling the weight of the entire class's stares turning exactly toward him. Bleeding and missing an arm, the red-haired bully grabs the MC by the collar, calling the boy a useless jerk. The aggressor screams, accusing the kid of using the class as a human shield. Minato stutters, denying everything. But the redhead is not having it and lands a brutal punch on the MC's face, throwing him far across the ground. Completely unhinged, the bully yells, demanding to know why only the class failure came out without a single scratch. He spits out all his hatred, calling the boy a coward, saying that since he has no power, he should have served as a punching bag for them. In shock over the accusation, Minato tries to defend himself by stuttering. But before he can finish his sentence, someone aggressively tells him to shut his mouth. The whole class glares at the boy with hatred and disgust while they bleed. With that, his classmates start calling him trash, a coward, and even tell him to just disappear right there. Kneeling on the ground and clutching his own head, the MC is devastated. He tries to process the guilt, feeling like he did nothing wrong. Suddenly, an absurd flash lights up the frightened boy's face. Taking advantage of the opening, Kira points his glowing magic sword straight at Minato's face. With an authoritative posture, the rep announces that this is the class's final decision, and that he is going to punish the boy. Desperate, the MC begs him to wait a second, wanting to explain. However, the hero cuts him off, saying he will not listen to a coward. Without a drop of mercy, Kira swings the blade down hard, telling the failure to get lost. But Shinomiya grabs the rep's arm in the air and questions if he is really going to end their classmate. Pulling his arm, the girl glares at the hero and calls his name in a very serious tone. She keeps it real and warns him that if he goes through with this, he is going to end up turning into a criminal. Immediately, Kira pulls his weapon back and says she got it all wrong. He turns to the rest of the arena and declares out loud that Minato is officially kicked out of their class. Satisfied with the decision, the injured students agree right away and yell for the useless guy to get out. At that moment, the advisor takes a step forward on the field. Toru lets them know that since this is everyone's wish, he is going to give them a little hand. Standing next to the fallen boy, the mage laments the situation. He claims that his presence ruins the morale of the true heroes. Without losing his elegant pose, Toru points to an isolated area and decides he is going to send the useless kid to the disposal dungeon. The advisor explains that the place is a monster dumping ground, perfect for him to play with the worst beasts in the kingdom. Grabbing the boy by the collar, the mage flashes an evil smile. He wishes the incompetent kid enjoys the view in his final moments. A magic circle appears on the ground, swallowing them both. Meanwhile, the whole class chants furiously, telling the MC to disappear. The advisor grips Minato tightly and whispers that it is in his nature to sweep any little pebble out of the way. With a sadistic expression, Toru tells the failure to struggle all he wants inside those walls. With a cowardly shove, the mage throws the boy backwards straight into the teleportation spell. During his fall into the magical abyss, the MC reaches out his hand in panic, unable to react to the betrayal. The golden light completely swallows his body, leaving only his fingertips behind. Once the spell fades, the advisor adjusts his posture, now alone in the middle of the cleared arena. Since the dead weight was thrown out, the students cheer with joy and raise their arms, celebrating the decision. Shinomiya, on the other hand, just lowers her head and looks away, staying silent amid the class's euphoria. Far away in a dark corridor, a portal opens in midair, spitting Minato straight onto the cold stone floor. Deep inside the macabre dungeon, the silhouette of a giant beast is already waiting for its new prey to arrive. A bizarre monkey-faced monster with glowing red eyes steps heavily from the shadows. Minato cowers on the ground sweating bullets and asks the void if this is some kind of joke. As an answer, the beast lets out a deafening roar, drooling with hatred and flashing its sharp teeth. The creature charges with everything it has to finish him. With that, the boy jumps up and runs away desperately, screaming at the top of his lungs. In pure panic, the MC sprints down the corridors, trying to shake off the giant monkey that is right on his tail. Even though he picks up the pace, the beast stays right behind him, tearing through the dungeon scenery with ease. Overwhelmed by absurd fear, Minato covers his mouth and wonders what kind of hellish place this is. He slams the brakes when he finds a pile of defeated and broken royal knights in the middle of the path. Out of nowhere, a red blur attacks and slashes the boy's arm at an absurd speed. With his shoulder bleeding heavily, he falls to his knees in front of a monstrous centipede covered in blades. Refusing to accept this ending, the MC grabs the sword of one of the fallen soldiers and swears he is not going down there. Using all his strength, he strikes the blade straight into the centipede's shell, but the weapon shatters instantly. Since the hit was useless, he is caught off guard by the monkey, who grabs his leg from behind. The boy lets out a scream of pain and sheer terror as he is violently yanked by the brutal beast. Completely cornered, Minato is left on the ground between the two assassin monsters, realizing there is no escape. Wasting no time, the two beasts pounce together to tear their prey apart on the floor. Seeing his end up close, the boy remembers his classmates' powers and wishes he had any strength at all to fight back. The giant monkey clasps both hands together and brings down a crushing blow straight onto the MC. With the brutal strike closing in, Minato closes his eyes, begging for a magic skill. In a moment of pure survival instinct, he lets out a raw scream from the bottom of his soul. At that exact second, an immense blue light explodes from his body, lighting up the corridor. The beast's attack smashes hard into a hexagonal energy barrier that popped up out of nowhere around the boy. The creature widens its glowing eyes, totally confused about why it could not crush the human target. Still curled up on the ground, the MC notices the blocked impact and is shocked by the protection. As he sits up slowly, he stares at his own hands. Minato realizes that he had done something like this in the past too. Connecting the dots, he slowly gets up and starts suspecting that it was no coincidence. Blood drips from the wound on his arm, but his hand starts emitting a bluish magic aura. Focused on the energy, the boy declares that he finally figured out how to activate and use that dormant power. With a more determined look, he feels relieved, realizing he was not useless and had actually gained magic too. Minato raises his brightly glowing hand and firmly declares that this is his very own skill. Ready for the rematch, the MC faces the danger head-on, keeping his hand raised. On the other side, the monster scowls, furious that its perfect strike got blocked. The monstrous beast stomps hard on the stone floor, gathering momentum for a new fatal attack. After a terrifying roar, the creature shoots toward the boy, wanting to rip him in half. Covered in a blue magic aura, Minato lets out a yell, unleashing the strength he just discovered. He thrusts his hand upward, creating several panels of light that connect rapidly. Without backing down, he orders the defense to activate right at the moment the beast throws itself at him. The monkey slams its face hard into the magic shield, taking the brutal impact of its own momentum. The repelling barrier throws the flying beast far away, showing an absurd resistance to the attack. Protected by the panels, the boy figures that if the enemy is strong, he just needs to use the beast's own strength against it. With a confident smile, he remembers the ones who humiliated him and promises to use this defense to prove them wrong. With his back turned and facing the dungeon's darkness, Minato swears he is going to survive that hell and escape from there. Meanwhile, on the outside, a beautiful forest landscape with a giant tree cuts through the tense vibe. A female knight in a red cape strolls through the woods and stops walking when she hears a weird noise. But back in the dungeon, the MC is already panting and confused, trying to understand what went wrong. Surrounded by defeated monsters in the dungeon, the MC wonders how many days have passed since he fell into that hellish place. Using his own strength, he pushes a gigantic stone door, looking for a final way out of the dark scenery. With that seeing daylight through the crack, the boy sighs in relief that he finally managed to escape in one piece and alive. Stepping out of the ruins, he runs straight into an environment totally different from that dark, oppressive dungeon. Minato is amazed right away, admiring the stunning new landscape revealing itself right in front of him. Noticing the vast green surroundings, he comments in awe that the place looks like a true endless sea of trees. Exhausted, the boy drags himself to the edge of a super crystal clear lake in the middle of that giant forest. Without thinking much, he dunks his face into the clean water to quench his intense thirst and wash off the heavy grime from the battle. Right next to him, a weird frog just keeps an eye on the movement, staring at the human freshening up by the lake. Sitting on the dirt, the MC stares at his own shaky reflection forming on the calm surface of that water. In a moment of clarity, reality hits him hard as he processes everything he just suffered underground. Staring up at the magnificent starry sky, the boy finally realizes he actually managed to survive all that terror. However, the moment of peace goes out the window when he clumsily loses his balance and falls backward toward the water. To the guy's surprise, a bubble of magic barriers pops out of nowhere and catches his body before he sinks. Admiring his glowing fingers, Minato blurts out that he would already be a goner if it were not for this lifesaver skill. After fighting for his life, the boy realizes his power is meant to create defensive panels, joking that out of everyone, the loner got a wall. To test his gift, Minato scatters smaller shields through the air and quickly notices there is a limit to how many blocks he can summon at once. Looking at the water again, he thinks in a melancholic way if the class would value him at all now with this defensive magic. But the painful memories flood his mind hard, showing the group humiliating and calling him a useless coward without mercy. Bothered by the annoying memory, the MC lets out a dry laugh in the middle of the shield, thinking it is ridiculous he even considered that. He gives it to himself straight, concluding it would be stupid to chase the approval of those toxic people who tossed him in the trash. Looking at a glowing flower on the bank, the boy declares that getting involved with people is a waste of time and that he is going to handle things on his own. Completely crushed with exhaustion, Minato closes his eyes and decides to crash in the middle of the night to rest his beaten body. With that, time skips forward and the morning sun appears, cutting through the vast green of that mysterious forest. Out of nowhere, the boy wakes up startled with his heart racing, caught off guard by an absurdly loud noise nearby. Sitting on his energy bubble, the MC gets tense, trying to confirm if that bizarre crash was the roar of a dangerous beast. Curious about the mess, he creates glowing magic steps in the air to try and climb the trees to see what is going on. From up high, Minato spots a cloud of smoke in the distance and suspects that two giant beasts are throwing down over there. Speeding across the light blocks, the boy hears a child's cry for help and thinks it is crazy for a kid to be lost in the middle of the woods. As soon as he gets close to the chaos, the MC freezes, completely shocked by the brutal scene he catches in the middle of the field. In the destroyed area, a massive wolf with green accents in her fur is doing everything she can to protect her tiny pup from a fatal strike. Completely cornered, the canine beast growls loudly and regrets with intense anger letting the situation reach such an extreme point. Right in front of her, a scaly green monster stomps heavily, showing off bizarre muscles and a sick thirst for violence. Desperate over the imminent danger, the little wolf cries hard and calls for his mom using a helpless kid's voice. Hiding behind a tree trunk, the MC notices in awe that the cry for help came straight out of the little creature's mouth. Going straight for the violence, the reptilian beast takes a brutal leap, readying its massive claws to take down the prey for good. Acting as a human shield, the mom yells, telling the attacker to back far away from her protected pup. But the lizard's strength is totally unfair, landing a devastating red strike that shatters the mom's defense in a single snap. With the crushing punch, the protector is thrown violently to the ground, kicking up dust and leaving the child in absolute shock. Staying back behind his barrier, Minato shakes with fear and tries to focus on the idea that the best move is to dip out of there running. A past trauma hits his mind hard, reminding him that the times he tried to play savior, he only made things worse for the person who was already getting beat up. Clutching his chest in distress, the boy convinces himself that playing the hero in the middle of the woods would be total useless hypocrisy. Determined to run away, he turns his back and reinforces that it makes no sense to risk his neck right after almost meeting his end in that dungeon. With that, the scaly monster takes advantage of the fallen mom and unleashes a merciless combo of bloody slashes straight into her body. The beast collapses on the dirt totally battered, losing her strength and bleeding without being able to get up to defend her offspring. Seeing his mom torn apart, the little wolf cries nonstop and bawls even louder, tears washing his fuzzy little face. Focused on finishing the beatdown, the monstrous lizard launches itself furiously toward the tiny bait that has nowhere to run. The beast's sharp claws drop from above like razors, ready to slice up the smaller creature screaming for help. Suddenly, the strike slams hard into a wall of light raised by Minato, who popped up right in the middle of the crossfire. Sprawled on the ground, the injured wolf is extremely surprised to see such a young human step up to the front lines of the battle. The memory of being held back by cowards in the past injects an absurd amount of courage into the MC's veins, so he will not back down this time. Holding up the glowing panel, the boy speaks up in anger, letting out all his repressed desire to protect someone important. The violent elasticity of the barrier blocks the advance and throws the disgusting attacker back into the forest with a single jolt. The giant lizard skids on the leaves and lands on its feet, huffing with hate for missing the perfect strike on that easy prey. Without taking his eyes off the danger, Minato sets up his defensive base right under the nose of the victims he just pulled from the brink. He throws a reassuring look over his shoulder, showing that the defense is on him now and that the barrier is not going to break easily. Admiring his own magic shield, the MC feels his heart warm up, proving to himself that he is not a disposable failure. But the celebration is short-lived, as the boy notices the scaly beast charging up a heavy rematch from the other side of the clearing. The core on the reptile monster's chest starts glowing intensely, gathering a red ball of pure magical destruction. With a deafening guttural roar, the slimy creature fires a brutal blast of concentrated fire that sweeps the ground all the way to the target. The beam of blazing energy slams hard into the boy's panel, pushing his body backward with the absurd pressure of the surprise strike. Showing zero mercy, the reptilian monster pumps even more force into the blast, trying to toast the meddling human's magic defense. Minato grits his teeth, feeling his boots slide in the soft dirt, admitting to himself that the barrier is at its absolute limit. The blue panels threaten to shatter under the weight of the deadly beam, while the little wolf trembles in fear listening to the magic cracking. Fearing the worst, the little creature's mom lets out a panicked bark, predicting that the defense will not hold off her pup's impending end. Sweating buckets, the MC curses and regrets that his strength is not enough to withstand that hellish heat any longer. Right then, the giant wolf gathers the last bits of strength in her bleeding body and swears out loud that she would never let a life debt go unpaid. Exuding a spectacular green aura, the beast shows absurd determination, declaring that it is time to return the protection she received. The boy watches in shock as the mom volunteers to serve as a suicidal decoy, telling him to grab her child and run without looking back. Pushing fear aside, Minato shows pure attitude and tells the wounded beast that no one there needs to throw themselves into the fire today. The scaly predator does not let up on the incandescent jet, leaving the canine worried as she sees the boy taking the attack head-on. Planting his foot on the ground, the MC channels an intense blue glow around his body, figuring out that the tactic now is to send the damage right back. Using the barrier's spatial modification, he molds the glowing plates, forming a huge acute angle aimed right at the attacker. As soon as the sinister blast hits the vertex of the shield, the violent energy reflects off the edges of the wall and bounces back supercharged along the exact same path. The monstrous lizard goes into pure panic, paralyzed with terror as it realizes its own fatal shot is coming back to fry his face without mercy. With a quick move, the MC activates his reflection skill right on the glowing barrier. The monster fires a powerful blast of energy that hits the shield and ricochets with full force. Unable to dodge, the beast swallows its own attack, taking the devastating impact straight to the face. Totally exhausted, the boy stares at his own hands, trying to process that he actually managed to repel the danger. He figures out that the power works in that crazy way, and realizes he needs to test other ways to use the defense. Calming down, Minato walks up to the giant wolf who is collapsed on the ground, completely ruined by the battle. The beast warns him with a weak voice that her journey ends right there, leaving the boy shocked and refusing to believe it. Throwing in the towel, the mom begs the kind human to look after her pup from now on. Right after the request, the beast's body starts glowing intensely and the MC holds his breath, startled. As the beast fades into thin air, he clenches his fist, full of anger and frustration for not being able to save anyone. Holding the little wolf in his arms, Minato notices the creature is in really bad shape and needs medical treatment ASAP. The boy looks at the woods and wishes from the bottom of his heart to find some town nearby to ask for help. At that moment, the little animal's fur starts giving off a mysterious, very soft green glow. Curious about the phenomenon, the MC watches the glowing particles rising from the creature and has no idea what is going on. With no other option, Minato starts walking through the dense forest, guided by the strange light floating in the air. While walking tiredly with the wolf in his arms, the boy complains that the place never changes and he is getting nowhere. But suddenly, he gets a jump scare when he sees something glowing at the end of the path. Stepping out of the thicket, the MC widens his eyes and cheers in relief when he spots a gigantic city on the horizon. Hyped about the discovery, he runs as fast as he can toward civilization, wanting to save the pup. However, his sprint is cut short when he slams the brakes upon running into a group blocking the road. A scarred brute looks the boy up and down, totally surprised by him suddenly showing up there. The mercenary leader stutters, asking if the kid really just made it out alive from the dreaded forest labyrinth. He explains straight up that the area is restricted, and whoever goes into those hellish woods never comes back to tell the tale. Hugging the injured pup, Minato gets tense and questions if the forest is really that dangerous. Ignoring the threat of the place, he focuses on what matters and asks the big guys to spare some healing potions. The leader agrees they have extra meds, but quickly points out that the kid does not look like an adventurer at all. The whole gang surrounds the boy in the middle of the road, glaring at him with heavy suspicion and full of bad intentions. Full of bad intentions, the mercenary warns that he might help, but makes it clear that nothing comes for free. The MC freezes immediately and awkwardly confesses he has nothing of value to trade. With that, the big guy blinks confused, noticing something shiny in the boy's hand that contradicts his broke story. Minato raises his hand, revealing a golden sphere that gives off an impressive light and catches everyone's attention. He offers the exotic item, hoping the mysterious stone is enough to pay for the healing potions. Out of nowhere, a girl in a red hood shows up screaming at the men, asking if they lost their minds. The MC freezes in place, not understanding where the girl came from or why she interrupted the deal. The intruder zeroes in on the sphere and immediately recognizes the material as super concentrated amber from a legendary tree. Pointing her finger firmly, she puts it out there that the stone is an ultra-rare max-level ingredient. The girl claims trading that for cheap meds is a total scam, while Minato mentions he just found the jewel on the ground. Furious about the meddling, the mercenaries complain to the girl and ask if she is looking for trouble. Mocking the intruder, a bald thug starts laughing at the situation, finding the rookie's bravery hilarious. Without an ounce of shame, he compliments the girl's body and face with purely cowardly intentions. The men pull their weapons right away, turning to brute force to settle the standoff. The armed thug warns that instead of just taking the magic ingredient, they are simply going to take the girl along too. The brawl starts and one of the thugs lunges at Minato, who manages to dodge out of sheer reflex without taking a hit. The mercenary recovers from his mistake and charges full force at the intruder, looking to strike the defenseless girl. But she is way too fast and lands a solid punch straight to the face of one of the big guys who pushed his luck. The gang leader gets pissed seeing his goons getting beat up and goes after the girl, throwing curses. He brings his heavy blade down with full force, but the girl dodges the slashing attack with a lot of agility. Taking advantage of the opening, she grabs the thug's arm and throws the brute to the ground with a brutal slam. The girl adjusts her glove, annoyed, and throws in his face that she is sick of wasting time beating up thugs. Totally in shock, Minato watches the damage, amazed at how she took down armed grown men using just her hands. She turns to the boy and gives him a dry scolding, telling him to stop being naive and not to trust any random stranger. The MC thanks her for saving his neck and tries to offer a reward, but the girl cuts the chat short and says she is not looking for friends. Amid the tension, the pup in his arms lets out a groan of pain, making Minato apologize for shaking him up. He calms the animal down, promising he will get the cure soon, while the mysterious girl just watches the scene in silence. Feeling bad about the situation, she lets out a tired sigh and ends up giving in to her soft heart. Without dragging it out, the girl tells him to follow her lead since she is heading back to the city anyway. Already inside the walls, the two walk through the bustling streets of the place as the afternoon fades. Stopped at a rustic tavern, the girl serves food and asks point-blank who exactly this kid is that survived the labyrinth alone. Hesitant and scared of her reaction, Minato awkwardly reveals that he actually came from a completely different world. But the girl does not even blink and accepts the info with absurd coolness, leaving the boy shocked by her lack of surprise. She calmly explains that bumping into people from other worlds around there is not really crazy news. Suddenly, the girl gets startled hearing the pup call for his mom and asks in disbelief if the animal knows how to talk. The little wolf blinks his big eyes, finally waking up after being knocked out from the battle wounds. Relieved, Minato tells the girl that it was this little animal who saved him from danger earlier. With fully green, fluffy fur, the little creature jumps onto the table full of energy and curiosity. The vibe gets heavy when the boy lowers his face and apologizes to the pup for not being able to protect his mom. The little animal gets the message immediately and hurts a lot, soaking in the reality of the loss. Emotional, the pup starts crying softly, calling for his lost mom with a sad voice. The hooded girl watches the scene moved, feeling bad for the pain of the animal who became an orphan so early. To lighten the mood, she lets them know she already treated all the wolf's wounds and asks in a soft tone how he is feeling now. The magic creature wipes his tears and thanks the lady for her help with a lot of manners. Charmed by the cuteness, the girl shows all the affection she had been hiding with a gentle touch. Minato realizes his own rudeness, thanks her for the rescue, and confesses he has not even properly introduced himself yet. The girl puts her hands on her hips full of confidence, says her name is Liana Lindo, and asks for her partner's name. Relaxed and feeling like he finally found an ally, the MC proudly reveals his name is Minato Acabe. Sitting at the table, Minato asks if the little wolf also has a name. The tiny beast explains he does not have anything like that since he is just an animal. Curious about the creature, Liana asks what kind of animal he is. The boy shrugs, confessing he also does not have a clue. Staring at the pup, the girl tries to search her memory for where she has seen something similar and starts guessing random names. She thinks the wolf looks exactly like a Pomeranian and suggests calling him Pomera. The MC gets a sweat drop on his head, noticing how lazy she is. But the little green animal gives an excited jump on the table. Super hyped, he loves the idea and asks the boy to call him Pomera from now on. Petting the pup's head, Liana notices he genuinely liked the nickname. Minato just watches the scene calmly. Jumping on the topic, he asks why the mom and pup were attacked like that since they were all monsters. With a sad face, Pomera answers he does not know the reason. The little animal explains that before, everyone got along, but lately some really violent creatures started popping up out of nowhere. He mourns losing his mom and his own home. Watching the wolf suffering, the girl realizes he was also left completely alone. Straight to the point, Liana asks what the boys' plans are now that they are together. Minato's eyes darken as he remembers the cowards who threw him in the dungeon, and he states he has some trash to deal with. For that, he declares he needs to learn more about this world, and that there is no way he would leave Pomera behind. Thrilled with the decision, Pomera jumps right into the boy's arms, calling him master. Minato holds the little animal slightly startled, not expecting this show of affection. Liana points out that the way things are, the pup is going to end up starving, so she decides to teach them how to survive in this world. The MC thanks her for the help, praising her kindness. Totally embarrassed, the girl tells him not to get the wrong idea. Time passes and night falls peacefully over the front of the old tavern. Suddenly, the bar door is kicked open violently by two cocky guys. The rookies walk in laughing loudly and comment that this seems like the perfect place to recruit allies and look for cute mages. The duo at the table pauses their chat to look at the commotion at the entrance. Grabbing the bar owner, the taller one demands to meet the locals. Scared out of his mind, the bartender asks who they are. Full of attitude, the guy points at himself with an arrogant smile. He puffs out his chest to announce they are the grand heroes who came from another world. Minato freezes hearing that. The bully keeps bragging and throws in their faces that if this were a game, they would be the absolute main characters. Meanwhile, Liana does not even care about the little show and keeps the exact same calm expression. The next day, Minato shows up wearing a new black cape and asks how it looks. Pomera immediately praises the master. Staring at a shiny jewel, the boy is impressed, confessing he never imagined that orb would be worth so much cash. Holding a heavy helmet and a shield, Liana lets him know the next stop is buying tough armor. The boy turns down the offer, thinking the cape is already enough. The girl warns he is going to regret skimping on gear. But then she puts on a bunch of random pieces herself, confessing she is not the best person to give advice on that either. Walking down the busy streets, the MC asks where they are heading now. With an excited smile, the girl replies there is only one place for adventurers to get real work. Minato walks lost in thought, trying to guess if magic in this world is used to buy wisdom or something like that. Meanwhile, Pomera is only thinking about food and bets that magic power must be something really tasty. Out of nowhere, Liana turns around super hyped, announcing it is pure magic. She opens a leather bag, explaining that inside there are several items infused with magic power. With a swift pull, the girl takes out a giant piece of meat, exuding a glowing aura from the bag. All smiles, she introduces that as the famous magic tools of the region. The little wolf starts drooling, admiring the monstrous snack, and cheers for guessing right that it was food. Getting the hang of it, the boy figures there must be a ton of these items hidden inside dungeons. Liana gives a friendly wink and confirms he is dead on. She sizes up her partner and concludes that for someone to survive that bizarre forest, he definitely must be super strong. The hooded girl flashes a smirk, stating that all that strength is going to be perfect. She raises her arm full of determination and swears she is going to become the greatest adventurer in the whole world. More relaxed, Minato holds the giant meat and accepts the help from his new teammate. The scene cuts to the imposing front of the city's adventurer guild. Inside, Liana widens her eyes, annoyed, wanting to know what they mean they cannot take job requests. At the counter next to them, things heat up with a guy complaining that a tavern sent him there to get work. The MC notices the duo making a scene and suspects those two are his former classmates, Tezuka and Sato. He remembers the school days, where Tezuka got kicked off the baseball team for starting a fight during a game. Around the same time, Sato also got booted from the sport, and after the mess, the two became total loners at school. Back to the drama, the receptionist keeps her cool and asks if the tough guys have an official license. The brute slams the desk, losing it, and yells that he already said he is a chosen hero. The lady tries to explain the rules. Out of patience, he grabs the clerk's clothes and tells her to shut her mouth and hand over the quest. The girl lets out a scream of terror. Right then, a guy grabs the aggressor's arm firmly and warns that the joke has crossed the line. The troublemaker turns his face full of hatred, wanting to know which crazy guy is trying to ruin their vibe. As soon as his vision focuses, he gets a massive shock and recognizes Minato, unable to believe the coward is still alive. Noticing the weird vibe, Liana whispers, asking if the boy knows those two jerks. He nods, looking dead serious. The other guy from his past notices the girl and quickly asks who the cutie with Minato is. The MC's partner just glares at the bullies with a closed, annoyed expression. Full of bad intentions, the guy starts drooling, complimenting the girl's body, and shamelessly blurts out that he wants to grab her. The adventurer feels deep disgust and gives it to him straight, saying she hates gross perverts like him. Irritated by the rejection, the harasser's look changes instantly, boiling with anger. Suddenly, a bizarre purple aura starts glowing near the hooded girl's body. A pair of ghostly magic hands appears, grabbing the girl by force. She lets out a startled scream at the cowardly attack. Panicking, Liana steps back in total shock, not understanding where those energy hands came from. The bully bursts out laughing, feeling the touch through magic. His friend thinks the harassment skill is the most unfair thing in the world. Controlling the purple aura from afar, the guy keeps using the spell to mess with the girl without having to physically touch her. But the sick joke stops suddenly and he gives a blank stare, not understanding what ruined his fun. Stepping in front of his partner, Minato breaks the purple magic and warns that being in a different world does not give him the right to do whatever he wants. The aggressor flashes a psycho smile and calls his former classmate a useless failure, refusing to take a moral lesson from him. Yelling at him to stop acting tough, the villain activates his power and fires a double explosive spell straight at the MC. Watching the mess unfold, the bully's partner notices the boy's origin. He curses in frustration and yells for his buddy to finish off the failure once and for all. A gigantic magic hand drops from the ceiling with full force. The crushing spell falls exactly where the MC is standing in the middle of the guild. Without backing down, Minato raises his arms and summons a glowing blue energy block. The defense tanks the brutal impact of the massive magic. With the barrier active, the attacker feels the pain of the hit immediately. He grabs his own bleeding wrist and screams in agony. Liana concludes that the damage taken by the barrier reflects directly back to the user. The MC nods, confirming his theory was right. Seeing his buddy hurt, the other troublemaker boils with hate. He charges furiously, refusing to accept that the useless guy injured his partner. Using his skills, the brute winds up a baseball-style pitch. He fires a fast fireball straight at the boy. The magic projectile explodes violently when it hits the shield summoned by the hero. The impact creates a massive flash, kicking up dust all over the place. Taking advantage of the opening, Minato uses the magic's reflective property. The energy bounces off and shoots back at the attacker with everything it has. However, the aggressor dodges his own spell without breaking a sweat. The boy notes that he cannot perfectly control the angle of the reflection for objects. Spotting the flaw, the brute preps a new glowing attack in his hand. He brings the terror, telling the MC to get lost once and for all. A devastating pillar of fire sweeps across the tavern floor. The brutal strike moves with total force to fry the target in the middle of the room. Facing the flames head-on, Minato figures a normal shield will not handle the pressure. He narrows his eyes, focusing on his own skill. Channeling his aura into his hands, the boy activates the variable barrier. The defensive light plate shifts shape, turning into a perfect triangle on the ground. As soon as the violent blaze hits the glowing point, the heat is split and pushed off to the sides. The smart tactic completely breaks the offense. Holding a firm stance, the boy activates his altered shield's reflection power. The blue magic vibrates hard, ready to send the enemy's spell right back. The enemy's power bounces back supercharged and blows up right in the cocky bully's face. He lets out a scared yell, taking the magic straight on. With the devastating hit, a gigantic shockwave blasts the attacker. Rocks fly everywhere, destroying everything around. Once the dust settles, the former classmate hits the floor, smoking. His unbeatable hero act vanishes right along with his consciousness. Taking a deep breath, Minato stares down the beaten cowards with a cutting coldness. He asks sarcastically if the duo really thought they would get away with it. Cowering near the rubble, the cowardly partner panics, seeing the failure show so much strength. Out of patience, the MC tells him to start talking. Yanking the troublemaker by his collar, the boy demands to know why they are wandering around alone. The interrogation about their old group leader's whereabouts gets intense. Totally desperate, the guy confesses through tears that the team gave up on the war. He admits that hunting the Demon King was too much work and the crew bailaid. Spitting out pathetic excuses, the prisoner turns his face away, sweating bullets. The humiliation of losing shatters whatever arrogance he pretended to have in the guild. Satisfied with the answers, Minato tosses the coward onto the tavern's stone floor. He pieces it together and guesses the original traitors must be nearby. Ignoring the down duo, the MC dusts off his cape and turns around with massive boss energy. The crowd in the bar starts clapping for the show of justice they just witnessed. Pomera jumps for joy, celebrating his master's overwhelming power. The guild staffer cries in gratitude, thanking him for saving her skin. More relaxed, Liana flashes a friendly smile, approving of the rookie's talent. She gives him props for tanking an absurd attack like that. Out of nowhere, confident footsteps echo near the entrance, cutting the duo's celebration short. A newly arrived adventurer compliments the defensive stance, acting way too familiar. The boy and the girl get startled, turning their heads instantly. The surprise of being approached out of nowhere puts them both back on high alert. Walking in dripping with charisma, the blonde leader repeats that he loved the defensive magic he just saw. He gives it to them straight, confessing he needs someone like that on his team. With a poster boy smile, the guy holds out his hand to close a deal. He guarantees that a spot on his squad is the best gig they will find in the area. Without dropping the forced charm, the adventurer holds the invite, keeping up the friendly act. His bright look tries to convince the MC to jump on board immediately. Using the name Clace as his calling card, the B-rank boss puts his cards on the table. The promised mission involves exploring a dungeon to hunt down a valuable teleportation artifact. Hearing the magic word, Minato widens his dark eyes slightly. The chance to score an instant travel spell is too good to pass up. But Liana crosses her arms with a bored face, turning down the charming leader. The rookie feels awkward as the vibe sours before the deal even goes anywhere. Behind the preppy guy, a creepy companion and a healer mock the scene. The black-haired mage points out the boss only threw the invite out to try and pick up the girl. The novice partner laughs, covering her mouth, finding the public rejection hilarious. She advises the captain to just give up on the hooded girl before he embarrasses himself more. Sweating nervously, the team leader tries to fix the situation by throwing out a quick lame excuse. He swears up and down that the squad just needs a shield and nothing else. The adventurer rolls her eyes, making a face of pure disgust at the thinly veiled harassment. Noticing the uncomfortable familiarity, the MC asks if the two have some history. Sighing tiredly, the girl turns down the pushy guy again. She asks her partner for patience, letting him know the mission will just be the two of them. The creepy mage rubs salt in the boss's wound, calling attention to yet another harsh rejection. The group's internal roasting shows they do not even take their own leader seriously. Whining with fake tears, the rejected adventurer complains about his old teammate's coldness. The hooded girl loses her patience and tells him to shut his mouth for good. Getting serious again, the blonde points out this is her first alliance since the fatal accident. Minato frowns, confused, not getting the tragic reference. The squad's healer closes her eyes, showing respect for unresolved mourning. The dark history proves the girl's former companions were wiped out in the past. In the shadows of her memory, a monstrous beast pops back up, spreading terror in a hostile environment. The red beast with sharp claws was the one who finished off her old group. Weighing the mood in the room, the rookie warns in a dark tone that hanging out with a teammate killer takes serious guts. The gossip spreads the girl's cursed reputation around the crowd. The MC stays quiet, following the cruel interrogation while leaning in the corner. The weight of the accusations builds a massive social wall around his friend. To shift the blame, the mage teammate points out that this terrifying nickname always falls on the survivors. The dungeon world dumps the tragedy on the laps of those who manage to escape. Looking down and consumed by deep sadness, the adventurer swallows the insult without fighting back. She mutters, crushed, that she lacked the strength to drag her fallen allies back. Turning her face slightly, the hooded girl offers her partner a safe way out. She gives him permission to tag along with the blonde squad with no hard feelings. However, the ghost of betrayal hits the boy's mind in a very painful flashback. The memories of him being thrown out and humiliated in the castle ignite an absurd rebellion inside him. Focusing his determined gaze, the MC rejects the hypocrisy of bailing on someone at the worst possible time. His character refuses to repeat the mistakes of the Magic Castle villains. Scenes of Liana risking everything to heal the injured flood his thoughts, wiping her record clean. Cutting through the cheap pity party, the hero takes control of the conversation. Clenching his left fist with pure determination, the certainty of being on the right side overflows in his motion. He realizes honor is not defined by some trashy bar rumors. Stepping firmly into the gossip, Minato pounds his chest, declaring there is no way he is dropping their partnership. His flat-out refusal to the veteran squad shuts down all that cheap blackmail. Reflected in his eyes, the adventurer widens her pupils, amazed by his vote of confidence. The boy backs it up, saying his own experience is worth way more than a mere bar rumor. The impact of his words hits the girl's heart, causing a violent blush on her cheeks. Completely embarrassed, she grips her clothes, feeling his loyalty warm her soul. Keeping it diplomatic, the hero negotiates a silent truce based on how the hunt pans out. Total success inside the dungeon should clean up the mess on their names. With a sharp smile, he surprises everyone by inviting his own rookie squad to join the dungeon run. The mystery of the teleportation tool drives the risky alliance. Feeling her body burn with shyness, the adventurer cries quietly, thinking she is going to pass out from embarrassment. On the flip side, the pretty boy blonde takes the win, celebrating the group's approval. With the paperwork sorted, the chaotic noise in the guild dies down, marking the end of the initial drama. The official green light in the wooden building kicks off the crew's joint mission. Strolling through the capital's market, the allies form a squad through the busy streets. Some locals go about their day, ignoring the new crew. Cutting through the city's peace, monstrous beasts clear a path, dragging heavy iron shackles. The sound of metal scraping against the pavement announces a freak show right there. The team freezes near the houses, studying the chained slaves being herded like cattle. The MC thinks it is insane, while his partner explains they are captured beasts. Dead inside to the suffering, the preppy leader crosses his arms, blaming the chained prisoners themselves. His cowardly logic claims past casualties justify the brutal punishment. The boy's empathetic eyes lock onto one of the downcast victims following the gloomy procession. The chained girl's human features spark heavy murmurs from the locals. Completely lost, the prisoner shows no reaction while carrying the marks of bizarre prejudice. Gossip runs wild, betting she is a gross beast pretending to be human. Hidden by the shadows, the blushing adventurer shares an old legend from magic folklore. The myth says committing deeply unforgivable crimes turns humans into these demons. Trying to break the ice from the street torture, the girl throws her arms up, making a spooky face. The goofy trick pulls a terrified jump out of both the MC and the blonde ally. Playing off the ridiculous embarrassment, the team boss tries to win back his charm with an awkward chuckle. The little story about swapped kids creates a less heavy vibe on the street. Walking past the convoy, kids run around yelling to the crowd that the tragedy has nothing to do with monsters. The innocent witnesses try to point out the prisoner's true human nature. Tired and totally drained of any leftover energy, the little elf boy in chains stares at the dirty ground. The urban violence stole the bright hope the small kid used to carry. The companions track the group with their eyes while the exhausted kid fights bravely not to fall flat on his face. The dread builds, predicting an imminent crash on the unforgiving stones. Beaten by physical pain, the boy trips hard and tumbles in the middle of the road, scraping both his tied hands. A low groan for help slips out, proving his body's absolute exhaustion. Totally drained, the elf boy collapses on the ground and begs the gods for help, while Minato watches everything with Palmyra. The kid looks up looking miserable, feeling like not even his worst enemy deserves to go through such inhumane treatment. Seeing the chains hurting the boy's hands, the hero reflects that this cruelty has crossed all lines. Before the MC can do anything, Liana shoots her arm out quickly to stop her partner from jumping into the mess. The hooded girl lets out a desperate yell, calling him an idiot trying to avoid the worst. But Minato freezes when things get gruesome, having no idea what just happened right in front of him. The boy's eyes go wide, paralyzed in absolute shock over the horrific scene. With his blade dripping, Clace warns that the rookie cannot interfere, no matter how much their helpless look makes him want to protect them. The blonde leader coldly puts his dirty sword away, making it clear those beings are beyond saving. Throwing a harsh glare over his shoulder, he states firmly that the prisoners are nothing but killer demons. Kneeling on the pavement with his sword in hand, the MC wonders what kind of madness this is, since the victim was just crying. The blonde squad walks away casually, leaving Minato crushed, questioning if that kind of wipeout is seriously considered normal. Boiling with hate, the hero clenches his fist while Palmyra asks what the beast did. The boy replies that just existing is already a crime around there. Liana looks away in distress, muttering if there really was no other way to handle it besides their end, and tells her partner it is time to leave. The child's defeated body is left behind, creating a huge puddle that stains the city stones. The tragic aftermath rests in the red puddle, marking the sad end of that little life. Soon the scenery changes to inside a dark dungeon, where Clace breathes a sigh of relief, commenting they have already made good progress. From the shadows of the corridor, a giant monstrous rat lunges, drooling and flashing its sharp fangs at the group. Wasting no time, Liana lands a punch, throwing the beast into an ice spike. The boss jokes that there will be no action left for him, while the mage brags about his own magic. Annoyed by the arrogance, Minato makes a face, thinking the mage Shamal is way too full of himself, and Palmyra completely agrees. Walking down the ancient halls, the hero gets his partner's attention, reminding her of the first rule of adventurers. The boy excitedly points out you have to love dead ends because that is where the treasure is, making his partner ask if this is a game. In a calm moment, he asks what made his friend become an adventurer in the first place. She gives it to him straight, saying it is the best way to make a name for yourself. Confused by her motivation, the MC asks what the big goal is behind getting famous like that. Walking a little ahead, the girl says that if she becomes the most well-known person in the world, she is sure she will be found. A sweet memory pops into her head, revealing the fond recollection of hugging someone very important in the past. The image of a blonde woman wrapped in a green cloak appears, and Liana whispers that she is looking for her own mom. The vibe gets heavy instantly, and Minato stays quiet, feeling massive guilt and thinking he should not have snooped. Breaking the awkward silence, the adventurer turns her head and asks, surprised, if he is not going to laugh at her dream. The rookie completely freezes and denies it desperately, walking in a super bizarre way down the hallway to hide his nerves. While the girl keeps moving forward, the team leader stops in the dark corridor and asks for a quick second of the hero's attention. Acting super buddy-buddy, the blonde wants to know what the deal is between the two. The boy deflects, saying they just met and thinks the gossip is an exaggeration. Still, the MC admits he considers his partner his lifesaver, leaving the boss deep in thought about the answer. A dark look takes over the captain's face, as he comments he is very relieved he did not arrive too late. Suddenly, the preppy guy makes a quick, suspicious move, catching the rookie completely off guard in the dungeon. With spot-on precision, Clace presses a loose brick on the stone wall, triggering a hidden trap in the room. Instantly, the floor gives out right under the adventurer's feet, opening a black hole right in her path. The hooded girl's eyes go wide as she loses her balance, completely shocked by the floor suddenly opening up. With no chance to catch herself, Liana plummets toward the bottom of the dark abyss of that deadly pit. Minato screams his friend's name in pure panic, while the traitor flashes a psycho vibe admiring the fall. Furious at the cowardly move, the boy clenches his fists and demands to know the reason for that disgusting betrayal. Ignoring the rookie's anger, the captain flips his hair with charm and jokes that things got a little too close for comfort. Keeping up the fake hero act, the blonde turns his head and confesses he is super happy he managed to save the recruit. He leans into the cynical tone, claiming it was incredibly lucky he saved the boy from that threat. Boiling with hate over the fake act, the MC shoots a deadly glare at the leader in the middle of that isolated hallway. It is obvious the boy did not buy the excuse, questioning the point of all that since he thought the blonde liked Liana. The team leader lets out a mocking laugh, admitting the charade is finally over. With a sadistic stare, the captain bites his own finger until it blades, revealing that the girl and her old group were just a nuisance. The traitor lets his blood drip straight onto a magic cube-shaped artifact. Alone in the hall with the hero, the villain gets ready to tell the true dark history of that dungeon. Soaked in blood, the mysterious item starts giving off a highly sinister red glow. The preppy guy narrates that his team and Liana's started out together as rookies, but the girl and her friends always stole the spotlight. A memory from the tavern shows the blonde's team getting frustrated, always getting overshadowed and blaming their rivals for their own failures. Until during a dungeon run, the jealous crew found a magic tool containing a sealed beast. The artifact held an absurdly strong monster that only elite adventurers would stand a chance of taking down. Holding the glowing cube, Clay sports a creepy look, claiming that finding that dangerous item felt like a divine blessing. In the malicious flashback, the blonde sneakily tosses the deadly box right at the rival team while they are distracted. The trap works perfectly, unleashing a giant scarlet monster that charges without mercy to tear apart Liana's old companions. Remembering the total wipeout, the villain lets out a hysterical laugh full of pure evil, loving his own cowardly act. Proud of the massacre, the captain strikes a triumphant pose, thinking he is a genius for eliminating the competition like that. Hidden in the hero's cape, Pomera lets out an angry growl, calling that entire story completely despicable. Running his hand through his hair, the villain complains that Liana survived and confesses they were just waiting for the perfect chance to finish the job. The boy's eyes darken as he feels deep disgust, while the traitor cynically claims the squad owes him for this. The other goons show up in the area, declaring that the rookie is an accomplice now for helping drag the girl to her demise. Minato stays dead silent staring at the group of criminals, and the little green wolf calls for his master with a worried voice. In the blink of an eye, the MC's expression shifts to bottled-up rage, and he nods with a threatening glare. Down at the bottom of the pit, the hooded girl is seen collapsed on the stone floor, groaning in pain from the brutal drop. Exhausted, the adventurer tries to get back up amidst the dust kicked up by the impact in the underground dungeon. Out of nowhere, absurdly heavy footsteps echo in the dark, making the girl freeze in terror instantly. A gigantic wooden club studded with spikes smashes into the wall near her, causing a terrifying crash. Liana dodges the attack by throwing her body to the side and is left totally paralyzed, wondering why she has to go through this all over again. On her knees and shaking, the girl desperately questions what a creature like that is doing on this floor. Stepping out of the shadows, a colossal red ogre with a demon face flexes its muscles, ready for the takedown. The beast takes a step forward, making the victim realize in shock that she has zero chance of beating a monster of that level alone. Clutching her chest without any hope, the adventurer looks down and sadly wonders if this terrible end is just karma catching up. In her memories, a child version of Liana desperately calls for her mom in the middle of the dust. The woman in the green hood warns her daughter never to use that power in front of others, or she would not be able to live there anymore. Insecure about the serious warning, the little girl just nods quietly. However, the mom quickly softens the scolding, pointing out that there is one exception. She dictates that the girl should not hesitate to use her magic if it is to save someone very precious. The young adventurer soaks in the advice, locking the lesson in her heart. Back in her current nightmare, the girl faces the red ogre and figures this might be the end of the road. Right then, her mind pulls up memories of her old partners, joking about getting married and raising death flags on the mission. Cornered, the old S.H.I.E.L.D. teammate sweats cold, getting ready for the fight. Holding his stance, he declares the team has to make it back alive whatever it takes. Inspired by the strength of her fallen friends, Liana takes a step forward, determined to settle the score. The ghosts of her old squad appear behind her, giving her a moral push. With a determined shout, the adventurer unleashes an absurd golden aura that lights up the dungeon. In the tragic flashback, her old companions stare at the scene absolutely terrified. The shock is so intense they even call their own friend a monster because of that power. Remembering the rejection, the hooded girl cannot understand the terror on her friends' faces. Her companions scream in panic, telling her to stay away, totally terrified of the magic. A sinister purple aura takes over the girl's body, showing the terrifying form of her transformation. Taking advantage of the chaos, the giant beast attacks with devastating fury in the dark. Sprawled on the dirty floor, Liana cries uncontrollably as she processes the disgust from the people she tried to save. The crash of heavy footsteps breaks the dungeon's silence. Thirsty for blood, the monstrous ogre charges relentlessly toward its prey. Completely crushed, the girl wonders why this is happening and accepts she really is cursed. She stares at the giant creature, believing that absolutely no one would ever accept her existence. Throwing in the towel for good, the adventurer mutters that this is the place she is meant to perish. Closing her eyes to the lethal strike, the girl just apologizes to her mom. A deafening impact explodes, kicking up dust all over the area. Once the crash passes, Liana opens her eyes slowly, realizing she is still in one piece. Right in front of her, Minato pops up, holding the giant blue barrier along with the little wolf. The unbreakable shield blocks the demon's punch, leaving the girl stuttering, not understanding his move at all. Holding the magic wall, the MC returns the question, reminding her that they are teammates. She snaps back saying they barely know each other and calls the hero a clumsy softy. Despite her attitude, the girl widens her eyes, surprised by the rookie's guts. She gives it to him straight and says this should teach him a lesson about not trusting others so easily. Supporting his tired partner, Minato tells her flat out he highly doubts someone like her would ever betray her own friends. The girl calls him an idiot and asks what if it was all an act and she was a demon in disguise. The boy argues back over his shoulder that it would be a terrible performance, since she just does not want to drag him down with her. Staying focused on the defense, he warns her he does not give a single damn about her race. Completely fired up, the hero yells that what really matters is who he actually chooses to believe in. Hearing this absurd declaration, the adventurer feels her chest tighten as her expression totally changes. She lowers her face and confesses quietly that he made her want to believe in him too. Showing no signs of stopping, the Scarlet Beast unloads a brutal combo of hits on the blue panel. Sweating cold from the weight of the blows, the MC wonders how they are going to take that thing down. Gathering her strength, Liana slowly stands up behind the boy to face the beast. She fixes her clothes and guarantees that if they fight together, there is a real chance they make it out of there alive. Her mind contrasts her old team's terrified screams with the absolute acceptance Minato just yelled out. Holding the line against the monster, the boy turns his head, paying attention to his friend. With a serene look, Liana warns him she is only going to show her true form to him. Taking off her hood, she stresses that this secret is being revealed exclusively to her partner. The memory of her mother figure hits hard, repeating the rule about when to use her forbidden power. The hooded woman overflows with kindness in the daughter's fond memory. Her voice echoes, telling her not to hesitate if she needs to protect a precious person. Having found someone who is worth it, the girl takes an unshakable stance. Liana lets out a powerful yell, commanding the release of her spiritual armor. A storm of light wraps around the girl, revealing elf ears in the heroine's true form. Magic blasts through the dungeon, completing the epic transformation. The girl's features totally shift, showing off an unreal, glowing beauty. Minato looks over his shoulder and his jaw drops at his partner's new look. Even little Palmyra is hypnotized, staring at his teammate's new form. The hero quickly wonders if she is a demon, but throws the idea out the window right away. Exuding a divine aura, the transformed warrior amazes the MC, who thinks she is incredibly stunning. The boy is totally captivated, staring at his partner without blinking. Annoyed by the awkward silence, she tells him to say something already. Stuttering nervously, Minato blurts out she looks really strong, completely ruining the romantic vibe. The magic girl drops her head, making a face of deep disappointment at the terrible compliment. Furious at how dense he is, she sprints off, grumbling that she was expecting something else. The hero gets a jump scare from her angry outburst and asks her to chill out. Ignoring the warning, the adventurer jumps, passing straight through her partner's blue barrier. She takes her frustration out on the ogre, yelling that the boy could have said something way better. With a devastating strike of pure light, the warrior hits the creature head-on, causing a massive flash. Minato thinks her reaction is over the top, while she keeps scolding him in the middle of the fight. He tries to defend himself by saying it was a compliment, and the girl turns her face, accepting the apology while still moody. In her mind, the image of the guys who called her a monster fades away, leaving only the hero's unshakable trust. Completely won over by the moment, Liana closes her eyes, relieved and happy she trusted him. The duo lines up side by side facing the red beast that steps back wounded after the hit. The transformed warrior warns that they are not getting anywhere if they do not break the monster's shell. Immediately, Minato figures that normal physical attacks will not get the job done. Confident, Liana declares that now is the perfect time to use magic. Totally surprised, the hero asks if his partner can really cast spells. Exuding a powerful green aura, she confirms that in this form her magic power is unlocked. Wasting no time, the girl focuses all her spiritual energy into an intense yell. She charges at the giant enemy completely fired up. With that, the adventurer fires a colossal green tornado straight at the beast. The spell blows up with full force, swallowing the target in a whirlwind of glowing energy. But the smoke clears and the ogre is still standing. Worried, the boy asks if his friend is okay. Troubled, the warrior regrets the situation when she notices the beast's absurd resistance. Then the MC steps to the front, promising to create an opening for her to hit hard. Serious, the adventurer warns she will need exactly 5 minutes to charge up her ultimate spell. Palmyra panics, thinking that surviving that long against that monster is totally insane. Unshakable, Minato activates the blue aura in his hands and accepts the challenge without blinking. The scarlet monster locks its deadly stare right onto the human target. Meanwhile, Liana charges her magic, trusting her partner's defense against the beast. The creature throws a crushing punch against the boy's glowing shield. Drawing attention, Minato yells that the beast's beef is only with him now. The brutal impact of the attack kicks up a cloud of dust and rocks across the area. Using that momentum, the demon leaps high, while the hero summons multiple light blocks in the air. The beast plummets like a meteor, forcing the MC to hold the line down below. Using his magic property, the boy reflects the damage the exact moment they crash. Knocked back by the shock, the monster attacks from another angle, smashing into a new magic wall. The creature narrows its eyes, boiling with rage for failing to crush its prey. Suddenly, the ogre forces its head, and its sharp horn starts tearing through the blue shield. The tip of the horn breaks the defense, shattering the barrier into pieces. Unable to dodge, Minato takes a direct hit and blood splashes from the pain of the strike. Little Palmyra screams in panic seeing his master get hurt like that. The blow throws the MC backward violently, making him hit the ground hard. Bleeding heavily, the boy stands up and realizes the enemy figured out how to bypass the reflection. Frustrated, he notices he ended up burning way too much energy trying to block those hits. The hero worries because he couldn't even stall for 3 minutes straight. With his mind racing, the MC tries to come up with an urgent strategy to paralyze the demon. The monster doesn't give him a break and already lunges to slice up the next glowing shield in its way. The barrier turns to magic dust under the unstoppable creature's brute strength. With no way out, Minato decides to gamble the rest of his energy on his next move. He triggers the shield modification, creating several sharp light spikes. The boy plants his feet, controlling the magic blades across the area. The spikes pierce the air and pin down the ogre's limbs, completely locking the beast in place. With the target trapped, the hero yells out, signaling that this is the perfect moment. Liana lets out a battle cry, gathering an insane amount of golden magic. Giving the green light, the boy screams for his partner to finish the fight already. The warrior flies in surrounded by lightning, remembering the regrets from her past. Using this one attack, she swears to finally cut away the shadow of the old team that treated her like trash. A colossal lightning bolt strikes down from the ceiling, wiping out everything with the power of divine thunder. The devastating strike fries the giant ogre without giving it a single chance to defend itself. The absurd explosion lights up the entire cave, making the rocks shake with the blast. Surrounded by smoke, the boy looks for his friend, trying to confirm if the beast finally went down. The monstrous beast collapses, smoking right in front of the adventurer, completely defeated. Pomera jumps for joy, celebrating the duo's incredible talent. However, draining her magic takes a toll, and the girl is left with an exhausted look. Liana quietly apologizes as her body loses its strength and she collapses. With quick reflexes, Minato runs over and catches the warrior before she hits the dirty ground. The hero carefully holds his partner in his arms, making sure she is safe. He immediately asks about her wounded shoulder, thinking it is crazy she is worrying about him right now. Suddenly, the whole dungeon starts shaking violently, threatening to cave in. The girl blames herself, thinking she caused the collapse, but the hero reassures her that she secured their victory. Wasting no time, the MC carries his teammate and warns her they need to run out of there fast. Massive chunks of the ceiling fall, blocking the rapidly crumbling scenery. Minato sprints desperately, carrying his partner while cursing at the collapsing dungeon. Right behind him, the little wolf cries in terror, complaining that he is going to meet his end without eating tasty food. Even in the chaos, the boy flashes a smile, finding his pet's greedy priorities hilarious. Liana whispers sadly that she is glad she got the chance to adventure with him at the end of her life. But the hero cuts the farewell vibe short, letting her know this is just the beginning of their journey. He reminds the warrior of her promise to become the greatest adventurer in the entire world. Picking up the pace, the MC promises to figure something out while the pet yells for his master. The hooded girl widens her eyes, feeling the firm resolve in her partner's words. The memory of being tossed away by his old class fuels the boy's decision to never abandon an ally. His eyes gleam with an unshakable determination to defy their tragic fate. Right then, the cave fully collapses, kicking up a massive wall of dust and deadly rubble.